day, and he found his three kids outside, still in their pajamas, playing in the mud. The door of his wife's car was wide open, as was the front door, and there was no sign of the dog anywhere. Proceeding into the entrance, he found even a bigger mess. A lamp had been knocked over. In the front room, the TV was blaring the Cartoon Network. And in the family room, it was covered with toys and clothes. In the kitchen, the dishes filled the sink. Breakfast food was spilled all over the counter. The fridge door was open. Dog food was all over the floor. It was just a mess. He quickly headed up the stairs. He stepped over more piles of clothes and toys, looking for his wife. He was worried that she might be ill or something serious has happened to her. He was met with a small trickle of water that made its way from the bathroom door. As he peered inside, he found wet towels, scummy soap, and more toys all over the floor. Miles of toilet paper lay in heaps, and toothpaste was smeared all over the mirror and walls. As he rushed into the bedroom, he found his wife still in her pajamas, curled up in bed, reading a novel. She looked up at him and just smiled and said, "How was your day?" And he looked at her a little confused. He said, "What happened here today?" She again smiled and said, "You know, every time that you come home from work and you ask what in the world I did all day?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, today I didn't do it." Mothers truly have a major role in the family. And for that, we should constantly show them our love. Jesus showed his love for his mother while he was in agony on the cross. Every breath that he took, every word that he spoke would have caused him extreme pain. But Jesus withstood that agony to make for sure he made preparations for his mother, and to make for sure that she would be taken care of when he was gone. John 19:26 through 27 says, "When Jesus saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing nearby, he said to his mother, 'Woman, behold your son.' Then he said to the disciple, 'Behold your mother.' And from that hour the disciple took her to his own home." Now Mary witnessed the crucifixion from the foot of the cross. Can you imagine how she must have felt? Jesus turns over to John and says, "Take care of my mother." And then he looks at his mother and he says, "Let him stand in my place as your son." Now John lived a very long life, and I believe that he took care of her until she passed from this life to the next. Jesus is on the cross. He's bearing the weight of sin of the whole world on his shoulders. Yet he sees to it that he makes for sure he takes care of his mother when he's gone. As God, Jesus is dealing with eternal matters. But as man, he's showing all of us today how important it is to take care of and to love our mothers. You can't be willfully wrong with your mother and still be right with God. Your mother is still alive regardless of your or her age. You can love her in 7 different ways. The first one is love her verbally. Men especially have the philosophy of, I don't have to tell you I love you. You already know that. Or, I've told you before, if my mind changes, I'll let you know. Or, I show my love, not just say it. You know, that might be true, but women need to hear those words, I love you. Children needs to hear it. And saying it makes you more of a man, not less of one. And spouses need to hear it too. This is a heartbreaking article in the Dear Abby section of the newspaper that I'd like to read to you. It says, "I enlisted shortly after Pearl Harbor. 36 days later, I was on my way to the Philippines. En route, the Philippines fell to the Japanese, and we were routed to Australia. 11 days after we landed, I met the most beautiful girl in the world. On our first date, I told her I was going to marry her, and I did. 18 months later, while I was on a 10-day R&R leave from New Guinea. After more than 57 years of marriage and 2 children, my beloved Mary died 5 days before Christmas. Although we agreed that our ashes were to be scattered over the mountains, I find I could not part with her. While Mary was alive, she would frequently say, "You don't know how much I love you." And I'd reply, "Likewise." I never said I love you. Now her ashes are on my dresser, where I tell her several times a day how much I love her. But it's too late. Although I wrote poetry to her, I could not bring myself to say the 3 words I knew she wanted to hear the most. As my dearest was dying and we thought that she was comatose, I told her, "There aren't enough words to tell you how much I love you." A few hours later, she whispered, "Not enough words," and died. The reason I'm writing is to urge men to express their feelings while their loved ones are alive. I don't know why, but many men are reluctant to express the depths of their feelings. Signed, Missing Mary Katarana. Our spouses need to hear. Our children need to hear. Our mothers need to hear. Some men would say, "Well, I'm just not turned that way." Well, turn around. Or, "I'm just not comfortable with that." Well, then be uncomfortable. But love her verbally. Second, love her physically. When's the last time that you gave her a big hug without her even asking for it? Or a kiss on the cheek, or a neck rub, or you just sat next to her on the couch? She's the first person who ever touched you. She wrapped you up in her womb for months, and when you came out, you were her first priority. She wanted to hold you. She embraced you. She stroked your head. She rubbed your feet. She held your little cheek next to hers. She gave you a finger to grasp. In love, she did all of these things, including the grooming you with licking her thumb. When you were little, she could say, "Give me sugar," and you would pucker up, and she would accept that wet and sloppy kiss, and even say the words, "Thank you." You would give her a huge bear hug so tight that you wouldn't let her go, and she didn't have to hang on. You just cling to her as she walked around. She changed your diaper. She potty trained you. She held the Kleenex as you would blow your nose. She wiped the food off of your face years longer than she probably should have. She constantly touched you, and she may have had to hand you off now to your spouse. And her life may have endured some heavy changes, but she deserves your touch. And she'll never have to give that up completely. It would mean more to her than flowers, or candy, or eating out, or maybe even a diamond necklace. Maybe not that far. But love her physically. Love her verbally. Third, love her patiently. Mothers have an incredible job with no pay. There's no position in the business world that compares to the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual commitment as motherhood. There's a poem that I came across this week that I think expresses a mother's commitment and dedication quite well. It was simply entitled, "No Occupation." It says, "She rises up at break of day, and through her task she races. She cooks the meals as best she may and scrubs the children's faces. While school books, lunches, homework too all need consideration, and yet the census man insists she has no occupation. When breakfast dishes all are done, she bakes a pudding maybe. She cleans the rooms up one by one, with one eye watching baby. The mending pile she then attacks by way of variation, and yet the census man insists she has no occupation. She irons for a little while, then presses pants for daddy. She welcomes with a cheery smile, returning lass and laddie. A hearty dinner next she cooks, no time for relaxation, and yet the census man insists she has no occupation. Don't ever make the mistake of asking a woman, "Do you work or do you stay at home?" The only thing worse than that is maybe if you ask her when she's due and you're not 100% sure she's expecting. Many ladies today have to work on top of all of that with a full-time job they already have. So here's the point. In spite of all that she does for us, we often become impatient with her. We get so used to her taking care of things that we expect it. There we go. And we become outraged when it's not there. Those clothes are still dirty. Why is that not ironed? You're out of my favorite cookies, or you know I like rice under that. Where is it? She's picking you up from school because you don't like to ride the bus, but then you chew her out for being 5 minutes late. Love her patiently. Because she's tender to you, there's no reason to take advantage of her. It's the reason to be patient and love her all the more. I'll pick on the teens for a little bit. Teens, it's unfair to be more kind, considerate, and patient with your friends and your friend's mother and with your own mother. If you treated your friends like you treat your mom, you wouldn't have any friends. And if you treated their mom like you treat your mom, their mom would not let you be around their kids at all. Your mom deserves better. She's not a rug to wipe every negative thought on. And for us adults with living mothers, we're to love her patiently. Dobson read on Focus on the Family Radio a letter from an 80-year-old woman on her birthday. And this is what she said. To all my children, I suppose my upcoming birthday started my thoughts along these lines. This is a good time to tell you that what I truly want are things I can never get enough of, yet they are free. I want the intangibles. I would like for you to come and sit with me and for you to be relaxed. We can talk or be silent. I would just like for us to be together. I need your patience when I don't hear what you say the first time. I know how tiresome it is to always be repeating, but sometimes I must ask you to repeat. I need your patience when I think too much about the past, with my slowness and my set ways. I want you to be tolerant with me, with what the years have done to me physically. Please be understanding about my personal care habits. I spill things, I lose things. I get unduly excited when I try to figure out my bank statement. I can't remember what time to take my medication or even if I have took it already. I take too many naps and sometimes sleep just helps pass the day. Well, there you have it. Time, patience, and understanding. Those are priceless gifts that I want. Finally, in the letter, the Apostle Paul wrote, I can do all things through Christ which strengthens me. I know I can too. It's a wonderful feeling to know his eye is on the sparrow and I know he cares for me. I guess being old isn't so bad after all. Love Mom. Love her patiently. Fourth, love her attentively. Mothers, listen as you pour your heart out to them. She is a sympathetic ear, and she always has been. And even as an adult, you've gone to her when you wanted someone who would listen and truly understand. She's always been on your side. There's a documentary about men who were going to their execution for capital crimes. And they interviewed the men as well as the mothers too. And regularly the mothers would say, well, he's such a good boy. And the interviewers would say, yeah, but he slaughtered 37 with an axe. Well, I know, but he's got a good heart. It's no wonder we like talking to Mom. She listens. But she may have issues now. And it's our turn to be her rock. And to listen, it's payback. But she's always complaining. Yeah, like you did. In the older days, our parents have many fears and anxieties. We should treat them as we would want to be treated when we're in their shoes. To love them attentively. Love them patiently. Love them gratefully. There's an elementary school science class that was studying magnets and how metal objects were attracted to them. At the end of the semester, the teacher put on the exam this question. She said, I am 6 letters. I start with an M. I pick up things. What am I? Over half the class put mother. She needs a sincere thinking, and not just today, but from a genuinely thankful heart when she least expects it. 6, love her generously. There's nothing too good for her. We could never repay her, but we ought to die trying. She didn't spend any on herself unless your needs were met. She could easily do without, and now it's time for her to have what she wants. She clears her schedule so that she could run you around. She gave up opportunities so that you may have more opportunities. Love her generously. And love her honorably. Exodus 20:12 says, honor thy father and thy mother, that their days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth. This is binding as long as the mother lives. There's another commandment that says, children, obey, which is non-binding because one day we leave the house. But honor is different. The husband is the head of the household, then the mother is the heart. Don't break her heart. But you may say, yeah, but mother wasn't honorable. The Bible doesn't say anything about her qualifications. It only asks, is she your mother? We've spent a lot of time today talking about loving your mother, as we should. There's one more relationship that we can't leave out, and that's our relationship with Christ. So I'll simply ask, how is it? Is it even there? You may have never came to him. If you have it, you can change that today. Or maybe your relationship was once strong, but now it's slowly faded away. You can rekindle that old flame. So whatever your decision is, come now as we stand.